Hello everybody, let's discuss some common questions and answers on FastAPI. Part 1, FastAPI Basics. What is FastAPI and why is it used? FastAPI is a modern, high-performance web framework for building APIs with Python 3.7 plus, that is above version 3.7, using standard Python type hints. It provides automatic docs using Swagger UI, first validation with Pydantic, ASGI support for asynchronous operations. Number 2, how do you create a basic FastAPI app? From FastAPI, import FastAPI. App is equal to FastAPI, bracket open and close, at app.get within bracket, within quotes, slash, bracket close. This is the decorator. Def read underscore root within bracket and close, colon, return within curly braces, message, colon, within quotes, hello, comma, FastAPI. Run using uvicorn main colon app hyphen reload. How to define query parameters and path parameters. At app.get within bracket, within quotes, slash items, slash within curly braces, item underscore ID. Now def read underscore item within bracket, item underscore ID of type integer, q of type integer of type string, default value is none, and return within curly braces, that is q is the query parameters used here, and this is the path parameters. Item ID is equal to item ID q colon q, not is equal to colon. 4. How to create post endpoint with request body using Pydantic version 2 plus. From Pydantic, import base model, class item which has the parent class base model, name of type string, price of type float, at app.post within bracket, within quotes, slash items, slash. Def create underscore item within bracket, item colon item. Then return within curly braces, within quotes, item colon item. 5. How to enable automatic docs in FastAPI. FastAPI provides two, that is Swagger UI, that is http :/127.0.0.1, then :8000/docs. Otherwise use redoc, that is http :/127.0.0.1 :8000/redoc. Part 2, Pydantic version 2 plus features. How is Pydantic version 2 different from version 1? Uses Pydantic code written in Rust, so it is much faster. And faster validation, new at Pydantic dot validate underscore call decorator uses Pydantic base model but now async compatible. How to use type hints and validation in Pydantic version 2 plus. From Pydantic, import base model field class user within bracket base model username colon string is equal to field within bracket triple dot comma min underscore length is equal to 3 age colon of type integer is equal to field that will be greater than 0. So age must be greater than 0 and less than 120. LT 120, that is less than 120. 8. How to use default values in Pydantic models. Class product which has the parent class base model, name of type string, price of type float, default value is 9.99. This is how default value is used. 9. How to use the optional fields in Pydantic version 2 plus. From typing import optional. Class user within bracket, that is parent class is base model, email which is optional of type string, and default value is equal to none. So the string can be a string, otherwise it can be none. 10. How to parse JSON into Pydantic model. Data is equal to within curly braces username age 57 user is equal to dot model underscore validate within bracket data. Next, part 3, SQLAlchemy 2.0 plus ORM integration. 11. How to define a SQLAlchemy model in V2 plus. From SQLAlchemy.orm, import declarative base. From SQLAlchemy, import integer, comma, string, comma, column. Class base which has the parent class declarative base from here. Class user of parent class base, this one, then underscore underscore table name underscore underscore is equal to within double quotes users. ID is equal to column within bracket integer comma primary underscore key is equal to true. Name is equal to column of type string. Age is column of type integer. 12. How to create a SQLite DB, that is database, and initialize tables. From SQLAlchemy, import create underscore engine. Engine is equal to create underscore engine within bracket within quotes SQLite colon slash 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 dot slash test dot db comma echo is equal to true. So it will create that file under the current folder root directory of that of that server, test.db it will name, and echo true, and it will show something in the console. Base.metadata.createAll bind is equal to engine. Okay, next 13. How to use SQLAlchemy 2.0 ORM with async. Pip install SQLAlchemy within third bracket async IO, then AIO SQLite. Example, from SQLAlchemy.ext.async IO import async session, create underscore async underscore engine. From SQLAlchemy.orm import session maker. Engine is equal to create underscore async underscore engine. Previously we used create engine. Now create async engine within bracket, within quotes, SQLite plus AIO SQLite colon triple slash dot slash test.db, and echo is equal to true. Async session local is equal to session maker within bracket engine class underscore is equal to async session expire underscore on underscore commit is equal to false. 14. How to insert data with SQLAlchemy 2.0 style. Async with async session local as session new user is equal to user within bracket name Sudeep, age 57, session dot add within bracket new user. Await session dot commit. You must use this one, await session dot commit. 15. How to query data in SQLAlchemy 2.0. From SQLAlchemy, import, select async with async session local bracket open and close as session. Result is equal to await session dot execute within bracket session within bracket user, that is of table dot where, that is the condition, user dot name is equal to Sudeep. So this is the query, and user is equal to result dot scalar underscore one underscore or underscore none, that is scalar one or none, that will be the user. Next, part 4, FastAPI plus Pydantic plus SQLAlchemy integration. 16. How to return SQLAlchemy model as Pydantic response. Class user out within bracket base model, ID of type integer, name of type string, age of type integer, class config from attributes it must be true. Use in route at app.get within bracket within quotes / users / within curly braces user ID comma response underscore model is equal to user out. Here is the user out class. Now async def get underscore user underscore id of type integer, then other quotes. Next, 17. How to handle database sessions with FastAPI dependency injection. From FastAPI, import depends, async def get session, which returns async session, async with async session local as session, yield session. Usage at app.get within bracket within quotes / users async def list underscore users within bracket session session of type async session default value depends get underscore session. This is how injection is used. We shall discuss more on dependency at the end of this tutorial. Next, 18. How to create a new user via FastAPI plus SQLAlchemy. At app.post within bracket within quotes / users comma response underscore model is equal to user out. Async def create underscore user within bracket user of type user create comma session of type async session is equal to depends within bracket get underscore session. db underscore user is equal to user within bracket * user dot dict, or you may use model underscore dump also here nowadays. Session dot add within bracket db underscore user await session dot commit. You must do this. Then await session dot refresh. You have to do this. db underscore user, then return db underscore users. Users, not users, user. 19. How to handle errors. For example, not found. From FastAPI, import HTTP exception. If user is none, then raise HTTP exception within bracket status underscore code is equal to 404 comma detail is equal to within quotes user not found. Okay. Next, 20. How to test FastAPI routes. Install pip install httpx. Example, from FastAPI.testClient, import test client. Client is equal to test client within bracket app. Def test underscore read underscore root. Response is equal to client.get within bracket within quotes / assert response dot status code is equal to 200. Assert response dot json is equal to within curly braces message hello comma FastAPI. Now we shall learn about the dependency injection we said earlier. What is dependency injection in FastAPI? Dependency injection or DI in FastAPI is a way to declare reusable components, functions, classes, or objects that your route handles depend on, and FastAPI automatically injects those dependencies when handling requests. Think of it like saying, "Hey, FastAPI, whenever this route is called, I need this extra thing." Okay, like a DB session, current user, or config settings, and you take care of giving it to me. So when something will happen, it will do something specified as the dependency injection. Why use dependency injection? Cleaner code, no need to manually set up things in every route. DIY principle, that is, do not repeat yourself. Write once, reuse everywhere. Testability, easily override dependencies in tests. Number 4, decoupling, better separation of concerns. Next, example, injecting a database session. Let's say you want to get a database session in your route. Step 1, define the dependency function. From SQLAlchemy.txt.async.io import async session. Async def get underscore db, which returns async session. Async with async session local as session yield session. Step 2, use it in your route with depends. From FastAPI import depends at app.get within bracket within quotes /users. So this is the get endpoint. Async def read underscore users db of type async session is equal to depends within bracket get underscore db. This is how dependency injection is used. Result is equal to await db.execute select user. Then return result dot scalars, then within bracket open and close, then dot all. FastAPI automatically calls getDB, yields the DB session, injects into the DB parameter of your route. Bonus, dependencies can have dependencies also. For example, def get current user token is equal to of type string is equal to depends within bracket get underscore token. Okay. Other use cases, authentication, that is get current user, configuration, app settings, pagination helpers, logging or audit trial, API key or OAuth scopes. Test example, you can override dependencies in testing. From FastAPI.testClient, import testClient, app.dependency underscore overrides within third bracket get underscore db is equal to override underscore get underscore db, that is test db. Client is equal to test client app. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you.